Hello, guys. Welcome back to today's session, which is episode 2. Thank you guys for watching my last video. And always remember, don't forget to subscribe or after watching, please. Um, just to give you also a quick summary of what we did the last time, which we discussed about the Microsoft Purview. We looked at the new admin center, which is still in preview, where see the all items and items and features are well categorized based on what we discussed the last time. So we just did a sort of review about the new admin center. So for this today's session, right, we'll be diving into Microsoft Purview itself, right? Where you could get to know what's Microsoft Purview, how to deploy, how to configure, things to consider, license which is required at each point in time, rules which are required, rules which are required. So all of this will be discussed, and we're going to be doing it bit by bit, right? So today, let's start. Which we proceed. What is a Microsoft Purview, right? So Microsoft Purview is a comprehensive solution which Microsoft has designed to help protect, governing, and manage our data, right? It gives us visibility to our data. It gives us on how we can manage our data and governance. It gives us to allow us to be able to safeguard our data. It also allows us to be able to manage our critical data and also regulatory requirements, right? So what comprises of this Microsoft Purview altogether? Which we have the data security, we have the risk and compliance, and we have the data governance, right? So, but as for today, we'll be starting from the data security. So as we come up with the other sessions, we'll be looking at them bit by bit, right? So under the data security, what comprises the data security, right? So we have the data loss prevention, we have the information barrier, we have the information protection, we have the insider risk management, and we have the privileged access management. Each of these are features which covers the data security. Now, but we'll pick them one by one also. So we start with the information protection first, right? So for the information protection, right? Information protection is it's something which is going to it's a feature which gives customers ability to know their data, to be able to protect their data, to be able to prevent their data, to be able to govern their data. So with the first, which is the most paramount, is knowing your data, right? You can trust me. You cannot protect what you don't know. You cannot prevent what you don't know, and you cannot govern data which you don't know. And as we all know, data has somehow as an organization proceed and move gradually, it tends to expand, in which allows the IT management within an organization tends to lose track of which data is within the organization, which is critical, which is not critical, and you have, as you all know, the current situation, which is maybe people working from home, doing hybrid, at the moment when our employee is trying to leave the organization, and is able to have access of files to themselves, right? So all of this is which you'll be looking at under this aspect, right? So the first question will be, how do you know your data? So before you proceed to do any form of configuration or any kind of deployment or any kind of setting of the policies, right? You need to take note of you need to know your data first. You need to know what you want to protect. You need to know what you're trying to prevent. You need to know what you're trying to govern, right? So which will take us to the admin center, right? So as you remember, there are two ways, right? Is that you go through the admin center, right? Go to compliance, gives you the compliance admin center. Why we have the new Microsoft the new admin center, which is a purview.microsoft.com, right? Which is still in preview. So better still, it's still better to stick with the previous one. So, but you can have access to the Microsoft Purview, the new one, which is free, right? It's free actually for now. So, but regardless, even when trying to set up from the new one, it still redirects back to the old one, right? So we'll be looking at, as I said, we'll be looking at the information protection, right? So this is from the new admin center, and you're going to say it's going to redirect us back to the old admin center, which is the compliance admin center, right? So now, in the aspect of us trying to like know our data, right? like we want to utilize Microsoft Purview, right? So before we proceed, right, before you can an IT team, right, proceed, okay, I want to deploy a policy. The first thing which is best practice, which needs to be done, is to know your data, which follows when it comes to data classification, right? Well, under the data classification, we have three modules, right? We have the classifier, we have the data classification itself, and we have the sensitive info type. So the first one which you'll be looking at the sensitive info type. So if I go to the classifier here, I come to sensitive info types here. So now we have over 300 templates which are already available within the admin center, right? Based on countries, we have Argentina, we have Australia, we have Europe, we have America. So we have them in different ones. So that means covers the physical address, passport number, driver's license, medication names, Brazil, Canada. You can see we have them. We have EU, we have Finland. So these are default sensitive info type which are already available, right? So now you also have the opportunity to edit the existing one. That means you can create a copy, right? You can create a copy of this and modify it to suit what you're trying to create. Or you can create your own custom one by GUI or by PowerShell. And also on top of it, when it comes to creating this sensitive type, it makes use of this regress. Regress is another topic on its own, which each and everyone might need to learn. You might need to learn on how to create regular expression and all of that, right? So all of these which make it easier to streamline some data. So we're going to create one together now, right? So imagine my organization is trying to probably get to know some data which organization is being used. So if you want to actually know if the policy, the sensitive type which you've created has worked. So let's have the walkthrough real quick why we do that. So we're going to use the GUI base for now, right? We can look at the PowerShell home base afterwards. So you come here to create sensitive info types, right? So we'll give it a name. So the approach here is which you'll be looking at is that if I come to my whiteboard here, so now we are looking at an approach where we have an ID number within my organization, which is ZAC123. So let me do it this way. So we have ZAC123, but you can see at the end, we have these last two octets that are different. So which makes this the name. But that means we're trying to create a policy where anything that has this ZAC123, right, should prevent them from sharing a file, should prevent them from encrypting a file. So to help automatically encrypt the file, to help prevent from sharing a particular data. So these aspects you'll be looking at based on the sensitive info type we're trying to create. So let's go. So ZAC1, right? So ZAC1. So I click on next here. So create a pattern. So we're going to add the primary element, right? So go to regular expression. So I use ZAC, right? I can use ZAC123, right? So I can also use the name. I can use any name for the name ID. ZAC1. I click on done. So I'm going to add a supporting element. So that means at any point here you're trying to create the primary element, there has to be a supporting element that is going to help detect the sensitive info type in a document or in an email. So I'm going to add a supporting element. So I'm going to also name this ZAC1. I'm going to also say ZAC123, right? And I click on done, right? And I click on create. So I click on next. So I use the icon next. So I click on next and I click on create, right? So I think I already created the file. I already created the file already that contains, I think I wrote there, ZAC is good. So let me just open it for us to see. So I have a document, right? One sec. So I created a document already which contains ZAC is good. So we have ZAC there, right? So let's do a test and let's see if it's going to detect it, right? Just hold on this. So I come here, search for the one I created, right? This is this. So I select it. So I have the opportunity to test, right? So it's going to load. I come to test here. I'll upload a file, right? So this is ZAC is good. I open the file, right? I click on test. So it's going to take to check the sensitive code. It didn't detect anything. All right. So let's do something now. So let's come here and change this to let's add Zach 123 and save. Right. So we save this, minimize. So we're going to go back again. We're going to delete this and upload the file again. Right. Open this, click on open, click on test. You can see it was able to detect Zach 123, right? It matches Zach 123 and support element is Zach 123. So now these are ways which you can imagine having lots of files and you want to like probably know some, maybe there's a particular document which is confidential and which contains some specific wordings or some specific sensitive word match. So you can create this and you can do a test on the file even without creating the policies, and you'll be able to see if which document contains any of these sensitive, and you can use that to categorize how critical a file is. Right. So this is one process, and also this also is going to help in when it comes to time of creating a policy, because we have when it comes when we are setting up a DLP policy, right? We have different categories. We have the high confidence, we have the medium confidence, and we have the low confidence. So this is going to help us to be able to like manage, to be able to see based on the policy that has been created, to be able to know how it's going to detect the sensitive info type. So if I put this particular combination, is it going to detect it? If I use this exact one, is it going to detect it? So these are things which we'll be discussing later in other sessions, right? So not to take our time in this session. So let's go back. Let's go back. So that is one type, right? So now the second one, which is the classifier, right? Which is the tunable classifier, right? So the tunable classifier, it's first of all, for it to be able to use a tunable classifier, it requires a specific license. So for tunable classifier, it requires that you have a Microsoft 365 E5 or a compliance feature. I'm going to add it on the comment section for us to have it. So but for tunable classifier, for it to be able to use tunable classifier, you need to be able to must have the Microsoft E5 license or E5 compliance feature for it to be able to use the tunable classifier. And what does tunable classifier do? Tunable classifier helps you to identify some specific category of content. So that means you can actually train. So imagine a dog, right? You know when you get a dog, you want to train the dog to behave some certain way. Like I hope you get my point. Like you're training the dog to behave a certain way. So now, just like you're training the dog to behave a certain way. So with tunable classifier, you'll be able to like train it, like to be able to know some keywords and to be able to detect those particular keywords. Right. As you can see here, it says use built-in or custom classifier to identify specific categories of content based on existing items within your organization. So you can create your custom tunable classifier, right? As you can see here, it takes up to 14 days to scan to complete. That means if you want to based on the existing one which has been created, which is over 100, which is like 112, right? It's going to take 14 days, and all of these which are already available is going to check all your organization and what it requires. But if you require that you have to create your own, you can actually create your custom tunable classifier to detect what you want. So for example, you can see actual reports, customers files, employees insurance files, employee pension records, finance. So you can all of these are something which are already inbuilt already. But you can create your own based on, because all of this data is quite different from each organization. Organization A data is very from organization B, definitely. So you can create a tunable classifier to be able to detect, to be able to train it to have a way of detect some categories of files and documents, right? So, but for this, for it to be able to make use of this, you need the Microsoft 365 E5 or the compliance feature, right? Then another thing again, which after you've gotten the license, after you've gotten the license, then you must add the admin that have access to this page. You must add it. It has to be a member of. It has to be. I think it's only a global admin that can create a tunable classifier, right? It's only a global admin that can create a tunable classifier, right? Then for the like, actually, those are the basic things. So I think a normal any other person that wants to have access to it has to be a global. So except probably they have to be a different trader. So, but for Trinity classifier, you have to be a global admin for it to be able to create a Trinity classifier. So the next one which we'll be looking at is the content explorer and activity explorer. So what does this tool do? So look at this content explorer here. So before we proceed, for you to be able to use the content explorer and the activity explorer, you need to have some basic license also, which for activity explorer, is that you have the E5, Microsoft 365 E5, is that you have Office 365 E5, Advanced Compliance E5 as an add-on, Advanced Threat Intelligence, Microsoft Info Protection or Governance, or Microsoft E5/A5 compliance. So if, without you having this particular licenses, you won't be able to have access to the Activity Explorer. Same thing goes with the Content Explorer. Content Explorer has the same requirements as this one, but there's this particular one which still accepts E3, which is when it comes to benefit of Content Explorer data aggression only, right? But if you want to truly enjoy both of them, is that you have Microsoft 365 E5, Office 365 E5, Advanced Compliance E5 add-on, Microsoft 365 E5 information protection. Either of these license is what's required for you to be able to use the Content Explorer and Activity Explorer. Then also, there are some specific required roles, right? Apart from your global admin, each admin center within Office 365 has its own administrative roles, right? Have its own administrative roles. So, as a global admin, there's some actions you might want to carry out from the compliance admin center that you must be a member of a particular role for it to be able to carry out the action. For instance, for Content Explorer, right, you must be added to it must be a content it must be a content it must be a content explorer it must be a member of a Content Explorer list bureau. You must also be a member of a Content Explorer content bureau. Without that, you won't be able to have access to the content or the items within the Content Explorer. Same thing applies to the Activity Explorer also, right? If you're not part of that member, you won't be able to have access to the items content of this. So let's take a look at what this does. So apparently, this gives you an overview. So for Content Explorer, it gives us an overview of what you see under the home here, right? It gives you an overview of that, right? Let's navigate to the content back to Content Explorer. So if I click on Exchange, right, it's going to give you an overview. It's going to give you the source code. It's going to give you what it detected in a particular document or particular email. So let's check on this. Let me use credit card. This one here. I have something for you. Right. So let's check this person. Right. So you can see this. So let's see this one here. So you can see there's a conflict which detected sensitive info for credit card number. If I come to details, you'll be able to see the name, the doc ID, the source URL, the file URL, the sensitive type, bucket type. Is it low? Was it medium? Was it at high? Detected language, the preview ID, the name, the item type, the location or exo metadata, the sensitive info type. So it gives you an in-depth overview of what is happening or what was detected and why it was detected. Right? For the Activity Explorer, it gives sensitive content about activities which is happening. So for instance, you can see a DLP rule match. It's trying to let you know that okay, there's a DLP rule match, message body, this is the user, this is sensitive info type, rules actions, right? Then the policy mode, then the email was sent to this particular recipient and matching. You can see that this didn't give us a well-detailed explanation of what has happened, right? So you can see that we're able to get from the Content Explorer of how it's being detected, the credit card number, the confidence level, the type, the document ID, all of them were given us from the Content Explorer, right? So, but for you to utilize these two, you need to have Active Microsoft 365 E5. You need to have that, right? So now, in a time where you don't have this, right? Probably you don't have E5, probably you're using a business period, right? So there's a workaround in a way where you can still learn your data. So how will you do that? So we have the data loss prevention, right? We can set up a policy, right, for data loss prevention. Minimum which you must have is business premium. Let's say you have a business premium, right? You don't have an EFI, and you want to know your data, you want to learn your data, right? You can actually create a policy from under the data loss prevention. You create a policy, and you work the action you won't set it to do anything. It's just going to be like in an audit mode. So we have a default DLP report where it gives us reports about what has been detected and which info has been detected. So creating a policy will be kind of just mutual where no action is taken, but each activity or each item which is being shared, either in a file, in an email, everything is being detected, and that's going to give you quite an overview of what is happening. You'll also be able to see some alerts. You can see the DLP policy match for email, but it won't carry out any action. It won't carry out any action. So that again is what you can use to be able to detect some sensitive info, and to be able to learn your data, to be able to know your data. I've seen scenarios where some organization create a DLP policy. After creating the DLP policy, they'll have lots of false positives. So that means based on what they've created, a lot of emails are being blocked or preventing the user from actually sending an email, preventing the user from saving a document, preventing the user from sending a particular document. So that's why that we actually learn our data. We know the data, we categorize the data, and that's going to now help in creating the policies. Right. So this is where we'll be stopping for today, right? So this is just for us to know the approach, right, of when it comes to the first approach which is required when it comes to before you proceed to configure or create any form of policies, right? You need to first of all know your data. Once you're able to know your data, then it's easier for you to categorize your data. Is it highly confidential, low, public, general? All of that. It's going to be very straightforward. So rather than walking blindly, where you just have to just create a policy and both legitimate email, both email doesn't contain sensitive information will be blocked or prevented or and it will affect the operations, and users will complain, oh, I'm able to send an email, I'm getting a prompt that I'm being blocked from internet. So at that point, you have to probably disable the policy first before you're able to go through, right? And when doing this policy, you have the test mode where you can actually test. Instead of publishing or going to live, you can actually put in test mode where you'll be able to test with some free user first and see how it works. So another approach that I mentioned is you can create a specific account, right, which you are going to use to test and send different emails, add some documents, work with that and see how it works. So this is going to give you clear visibility to your data and all of that, right? So thank you for today's session. And please, if you have any question, please add it to your comments. I'm going to provide answers. As I've said, I'm going to provide the required license and required rules and permissions required to have access to this. And yeah, thank you for today's session. And we'll continue in the following session. Following session, we'll continue with setting up some of these policies. Since we have been able to know our data, then we continue to setting up really when we can start with the either information protection by creating sensitivity level, or probably start with data protection. So see you guys on the next session, and happy holidays and do enjoy. Bye.